We are living in historic times. Times that would have driven the philosophers of history completely insane. A while ago I read Huckleberry Finn, and in that book he travels with a pair of con men for a while. They stop in some small towns with maybe a few dozen people in them, classical hick people that wear sacks and don't know what internal organs do, beyond hurt sometimes and you can eat them. Those people now have internet access. Their minds can be broadcast the world over. It's technically a good thing, but it's undeniably maddening if you pay attention. I pay attention to smart people and I'm really going insane myself. I don't know where I was going with that. It's been a while since my last podcast. By the way, hi, it's me, your favorite Marxist, and I think I love you more than Matt Walsh loves 12-year-olds. Yeah, I'm in between here, the last podcast. Now, if you haven't heard of your favorite Martian, formerly known as This Project is Retired, it has been unretired and is back, so go look up the Stereotype song and have it stuck in your head forever and ruin your life, much like I have. And I was saying about Matt Walsh being a PDF file. I know I've oh yeah, it's I'm your host, LiveHardman, by the way. Hi. I know I've drilled on and on about the Daily Wire for a while, but oh my god, recently it has been they've just been coming out as yes, we know we're evil now. We know everything we do is wrong, and half the things we say are lies, and the other half are just actual Nazi talking points. But I wasn't expecting Matt Walsh to go on Twitter, and after being exposed as having been said that sometimes sex between a adult and a child is not bad because of the ages. It's actually bad because it's man and teenage, but in Matt Walsh's mind, man having sinful consensual sex. I really didn't think that pedophilia is cool, except for the fact that I don't even understand. What the hell was he talking about? Why is he saying man to child sex is good, except that it's a sin? And then Ben Shapiro comes out and he's like, I know that grooming can be considered sexually abusing a child or grooming them in terms of manipulating them over years, gaining their trust, and emotionally or physically abusing them. But actually, grooming can also now have a more modern meaning, which is anything that I don't like being taught to a child. Hey, good job, Ben. Congratulations. You're now, to add to your laundry list of reasons why you're a monster, you can add defender of pedophilia, or maybe downplayer at the very least. What what is going on with conservatives today? In between this podcast and the last podcast, Kanye West, rapper sometimes known as Ye, just went on about how much he loves Nazis and shit. And the first 90% of the times it happened, people on the Daily Wire like Steven Crowder oh, he's just speaking truth to power. He's just saying what we're all thinking. And then when he actually says, oh no, I love Nazis, now hold on a minute, we shouldn't say that part out loud. We should just agree with every single thing that Nazis have, except when Ben Shapiro's here, we'll say that we don't agree with the whole killing the Jews thing. That was 90% of the Nazi identity, but we'll take all their other points and we'll roll with those. And also, when Ben Shapiro's not around, and sometimes when Ben Shapiro's around, we'll also do the whole anti-Semitic thing, as in the case of Steven Crowder, who has said in the past that if World War II soldiers saw trans people today, they would throw down their guns and think that the Nazis were right, which Ben Shapiro didn't care about, because why would he? And also had Candace Owens talking about how Hitler just wanted to make Germany great, and the only bad thing he ever did was leave Germany with that ideal. And Ben Shapiro also didn't say anything about that, but he did later chastise Candace Owens during the Kanye Chronicles for some other Nazi shit. And it just kind of disturbs me because, Ben Shapiro, he's for Nazis on every account except for the whole Jew killing thing. I don't know if you're aware, people usually just throw around the 6 million number, but it was actually Nazis killed 6 million Jews, 11 million people among them. I know it's selfish of me to include, first off, trans people, gay people, the disabled, black people, any minority at all, basically. And I think, I think if the Holocaust excluded the 6 million Jews and was just the 5 million other people, I think Ben Shapiro would be for that. I think that's what he's pushing for right now, and he doesn't realize that the Nazis who have their hand firmly up his ass controlling everything he says, would kill him the second that they get the power that he wants them to have, is what I'm saying. And that's what I wanted to lead in about the Daily Wire, and because it's been stewing in my brain for like fucking 5 months now, driving me insane in the membrane over here. Oh, and when I said I pay attention to smart people, I did not mean the Daily Wire. I meant my cats or something, I don't know. Yeah, there's so much stupid fascist shit going on right now. Also in the interim, yeah, I'm just loading in the politics for a while. We gotta get through it. I got a lot to go through. I've been paying a lot of attention to Twitter over the past few months and noticing the rising tide of a global fascist wave, which if you pay attention to the news, then you know a few months ago, Giorgia Meloni got elected to whatever the hell Italian people call their prime minister, president, pizza lord, I don't know. And Giorgia Meloni had many speeches in which she talked about how families have to go back to man, woman, and child, and not just that, but white people are being replaced, and we need to defend them. If you're not aware, the Great Replacement Theory is a Nazi ideology in which, I don't know, brown people are coming to have sex with white people, and then the babies aren't pure white people, and that's a bad thing for some reason. If you watch Fox News, Tucker Carlson talks about it a lot. Again, Matt Walsh on the Daily Wire has said that the Anglo-Saxon race is being replaced by Mexicans. I don't know what the hell he's going on about there. I'd be down to get some Mexican action, I don't know. And Giorgia Meloni is a firm believer in this, and it is honestly pretty goddamn scary that someone like that can be elected to a position of, I don't want to say supreme power, but the number one political power position in a country. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I guess maybe I haven't. In between the last couple podcasts, I put out a smaller thing called a Live Hard Corner, in which I talk about how Pierre Poilievre, whatever the hell his name is a threat to trans rights in Canada, and I still think he slightly is, but not as much as before, because I've done a lot of research since then, and in 2017 when the transgender rights bill passed, basically you can't be outwardly transphobic in Canadian politics at all, so that's nice he actually can't. And since then, Pierre Poilievre has been reined in heavily by his party, and he's been doing a lot of like photo shoots with people of color, you know, because they want to get him away from the whole white supremacist image. He also had a scandal for using men going their own way tags in his YouTube, which, if you don't know, is an incel brain cell kind of thing of men saying, I don't need women. Oh, Jimmy, we gotta throw Cindy down a hole and go our own way. That kind of thing, you know. Which I also hear Henry Cavill may be into. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I hope not. Anyway, that's just a rumor. But I say, you can't be transphobic or anti-queer in Canada overtly, but you still can covertly. Another political thing, we're almost actually through everything I want to talk about. Another political thing that's happened since then is the Premier of Alberta, which, if you've forgotten, Premier is like a governor for a province of Canada. The Premier of Alberta, Canada, which is a province that's like a state, you know, those things America has. It's like a smaller country. Danielle Smith went on Jordan Peterson's podcast for the Daily Wire, and if you've forgotten, Jordan Peterson is one of Canada's most transphobic and misogynistic, which a lot of people often forget. He's said things like women's rights have been a disaster for men because there are no, like, I can't remember if it was no good women or women's standards are just too high now. They have too much, and women only wear makeup because they want to make men sexually aroused, that kind of thing. He's very not sane, first of all, also not good to listen to if you have thoughts that women are equal humans to everyone else. And Premier Danielle Smith, a woman, went on his podcast, and I honestly don't give a shit what they want to talk about, but just going on the Daily Wire is something that honestly, if you do that as a Canadian politician, you should not be allowed in Canadian politics anymore. As I've said many a times, the Daily Wire spends, I don't want to say millions of dollars, but a whole lot of time frequently trying to dehumanize, delegitimize, and cause the deaths of LGBT plus people in America, and that leaks into Canada, and it's not fucking good. And I want to mention that when I saw Premier Danielle Smith tweeting about that, I responded and I said, it is disgusting. You went on the Daily Wire, Jordan Peterson. It is extremely transphobic and misogynistic. What are you doing? And Danielle Smith herself actually saw that and personally blocked me. So pretty cool that I got my first somewhat notable person real block. And I do enjoy that she actually read my reply. That's very nice. I hope she fucks herself. She's such a disgusting cunt for going on something that wants to kill hundreds of thousands of Canadians, an organization like the Daily Wire. And I hope one day, I don't know how this would happen, but I hope I'm like in Canadian politics or something, like I'm in the big caucus Senate room or whatever the hell it's called, the cabinet. I can't remember. I'm stupid. And everyone, total proof that I'm going to one day be in there. And everyone turns and looks at me and a big, like, projector comes on. It's like, oh, here's what you said. Danielle Smith is a disgusting cunt. And then I will say, hey, yeah, I like that. She is a disgusting cunt. And not only that, but we should all point at her and laugh and tell her she's a disgusting cunt. Why the fuck does she work for the very people that she outwardly, although no one cares to notice it, outwardly is willing to support people who want them dead? It's fucked, man. It's just fucked. Speaking of politicians wanting people dead, we're almost there. We're almost through. Doug Ford, the premier of my native province, Ontario. Yeah, he has completely confirmed that he wants to get more private healthcare involvement, which honestly, a two-part system wouldn't be so bad, but it wouldn't be so bad if he were not actively doing everything he can to destroy the public system. And it is kind of comforting that recently the bill I talked about, Bill 124, which caps the wages of nurses and other public health people, except for doctors, and also, side note, a lot of Ontario MPs got raises since that wage cap went in. Bill 124 was struck down by the court as unconstitutional, as it should be, and Doug Ford is now going to spend millions of more dollars of taxpayer money appealing that. That's very nice. I hate him so fucking much. Hey, did you know that Doug Ford got in with a total vote count of about 13% worth of the entire province because only 30% of people showed up to vote? And also, since last podcast, the American midterms happened, and many states' votes were decided by margins of less than a few thousand people. Your vote counts. Go fucking vote. And Doug Ford has now taken protected land, which in 2018 he promised, this land called the Greenbelt, that is environmentally protected. He has said that will no longer be environmentally protected. That land is going to go to people who have donated to me and given me money, and they're going to get to build real estate there. I fucking hate Canadian politics. It is a swath of corruption and just bold-faced theft, and honestly, Canadians just don't fucking care because we live pretty comfortable lives for the most part. And those lives are slowly eroding and being destroyed by the wonders of unchecked capitalism and disgusting pieces of shit. Are we there? Did I do it? Did I get through all the politic? Am I there? I think so. I think I made it. God, it is bleak. It has been a long few months. Yeah, I went to school. I started game programming out of college, and boy, this first semester was fucking miserable. I hated almost all of it. Wowie, 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 am I glad it's over, and I would very much consider dropping out right now, except, yeah, that aforementioned healthcare system being destroyed by Doug Ford. I cannot get a doctor except for the doctor that's in my school, so I'm sticking with it for the time being, pretty much just because of that. Very fun. God, what did I even do in school? I failed to learn a whole lot because I've just been ultra major depresso this whole time. What with the whole state of the world that I'm mentioning right now. But I did have one good class in the meantime, at least. This Intro to Arts and Sciences, which was basically a philosophy class. Talked about a whole lot of philosophy type stuff. And I actually really enjoyed it. And while I was sitting in class one day just listening to the teacher lecture, I came to another realization that, my only calling is not writing. It's also speaking, this kind of thing. I really love talking. I really love listening to people. And I realized that in philosophy class because I was just sitting there listening and I was like, oh my fucking God, I want to interject and fucking talk back. I want to talk about what this teacher's talking about. It's interesting. I want to speak my truth to power that I love the Nazis. No, bad Kanye, get out of my head. And we didn't get many chances to discuss the stuff that was talked about in that philosophy class, but there was a lot of interesting stuff to learn. And in my depresso state, I've been thinking a lot about one particular lecture from that class, which was on Epicurus, which, if you don't know, is a famous, I would assume he's famous now, Greek, I learned about him in school, Greek philosopher from, 341 BC or something, BCE. And what we learned in class was his 3 key tenets to happiness, which were friendship, freedom, and, fuck. What was the third one? I just wrote a test on this. I should know this. Friendship, freedom, philosophical thought, the very thing I'm doing right now, that's what it was. And in my depressive state, I was thinking about it a lot because it seems so true to me that a friendship, like, it has been shown in research. I can't tell you any which, but the teacher said research, and I trust her. That might be stupid of me. Research has shown that of the many things that provide happiness, few things can provide long-lasting happiness. One of those very important things are human relationships. That is friendships, if you're not connecting the 2 points there in your mind like I am mine. And I can see a lot of reason and value in that and agree with that yes, friendship make happy, friendship good. And then going over to freedom, yes, obviously freedom make happy. You do not usually want to be a slave except in the bedroom environments, I guess. And also a caveat of that freedom is also one of Epicurus's main points was the freedom from the anxiety or dread and general worry of death. That I think his major point was some quote like, well, we don't have death, it is not present, and then once death is present, it doesn't matter because we're not actually experiencing it because we no longer exist, so why worry about death at all? And in the context of that freedom and that death, yes, I would also agree with Epicurus that being free and not worrying about death are also major providers of happiness. Which brings to the third point of philosophical thought. I love meditating. I love learning philosophy. I love thinking about things. So yeah, I would say that also makes me happy. And I bring this all up because think about Epicurus and these 3 tenets to happiness, and they, according to history, made him very happy, lived out his life in a small house in a rural setting with his friends, talking philosophy all day whenever he wanted, was apparently happy. I have these 3 things. I have great friends that I love. I have so much freedom in my life. I have constant philosophical thought. And it just makes the depresso feel even worse. Like, what the fuck, man? I have these 3 keys to happiness, and still I can't possess it for like more than a couple hours. And that's obviously just, or not obviously, but probably like a brain, unworky brain, no good, not make enough happy juice. But like I've been seeing the doctor at school. I tried antidepressants for a while, did not work. And doctor thinks that the real cause for my depression is gender dysphoria. I would like to be working on that, which is slow goings. There's a a lot of things we have to talk about first. I'm on a T blocker now, at least, not actual estrogen. T blocker is nice. It's something to keep me not completely hating myself. Doesn't seem to be doing too much. I'm too high T. Even a pill can't make me a soy boy. Too strong. Yeah, just in that time we've thought about happiness so much in that class. We've also learned about how, like, or in my case, relearned that happiness sort of peaks at like $100,000 to $150,000, and then after that, money doesn't really buy happiness, and it's more just important having all your basic necessities met, and then you can't really guarantee happiness after that. And I can relate to that because I have all my basic necessities met. For the most part, it is a tumultuous poor person type scenario, but I have a roof over my head, I have food. I was looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like, I fit all of these criteria. Why the fuck can brain not make the good juice? It pisses me off. I just don't really know how to handle it other than going from day to day. And if you were wondering, yeah, this is the reason that I haven't uploaded much in so long, because I just feel like shit the vast majority of the time, and I don't think I can be entertaining during that. I don't know if I am now. It is philosophical thought, and that is supposed to make you happy, so you better be fucking happy listening to this. I'm gonna finger my ass if you're not. I don't know, maybe you just can't logic and philosophical thought your way out of a depression. Maybe there is the issue of gender dysphoria that I need to address, or am addressing, and need to continue to wait for it to be fully, I don't want to say cured or treated, I guess would be the better word. Even then, to go back to the Daily Wire and get back to the political sorry we're not over, that the active misinformation campaigns by people like those of the Daily Wire, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Fox News, Tucker Carlson, all the like misinformation towards trans and queer people is leaking heavily into Canada and making people so much more stupid that they like don't even realize that the things that the American far right advocates for are illegal in Canada. Like, the Daily Wire would not be allowed to operate here, first of all. Secondly, the whole like, oh, we need to stop radical gender ideology. There were people running on that platform in a few school boards in my district that I saw. Like, they passed out pamphlets and shit. These people don't realize that if they were elected, which they will never be because they're stupid, the far-right ideology is not popular here. It's just very fucking loud. If these people who want to end queer acceptance somehow got into positions of power at schools, if they enacted those policies, those schools would be breaking federal discrimination laws. You can't do that here. And another way that the Daily Wire is making Canada more stupid is I look at like any post about any sort of like gay people, trans people on any news website or tweet from a news website, and you look at the replies, it's all people like, we need to get this shit out of Canada. This needs to go. We can't even talk about this, even though we're supposed to have freedom of speech. And what are you talking about? That your constitutional right to freedom of speech, that's not a thing you have. You're just repeating things that stupid American far-right people have said. There's no freedom of speech constitutionally guaranteed in Canada. It's a freedom of expression, and it comes with dozens upon dozens of limits. It's just, people don't even know what country they're in anymore because of this bullshit. And it's even spreading to fucking Holocaust denial. I saw a CTV News article posting about how Toronto school boards are thinking about adding more Holocaust teaching to grade 6 curriculum, and there were people in the fucking comments, like dozens to like under 100 people, being like, what? Why are they teaching about that bullshit? Oh yeah, 6 million my ass. Like, what fucking country do you fucking live in? God, it is bananas, man. I don't know how this shit gets so prevalent now. There's sort of a like, I don't really like this bill Justin Trudeau is putting forward to like censor and simultaneously promote Canadian media figures in internet algorithms that are broadcasted to Canada. But man, maybe we should get a little bit of that to just fucking turn off the Daily Wire and Tucker Carlson for maybe like 20 years, see if that improves society a bit. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm just suppressing their constitutional right to fucking American free speech. These are the things I think about. These are the reasons that I have trouble getting up in the morning, because I use Twitter. I gotta stop. It's gotten so much worse since Elon Musk took control. He just like straight up came out like fucking out of the gates punching down at trans people. He removed misgendering and like harassing trans people from the fucking terms of service, firstly. And like all the while he was doing this, he's like replying to libs of TikTok and Tim Pool being like, all trans people need to die, we need to kill everyone. Club Q shooting was actually good. And he was being like, yes, very interesting, very cool. My fucking god. Speaking of Elon Musk, another political thing I have to bring up is that I think maybe a month ago, there's something going on with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in court and using the word woke a lot, and the judge forced Ron DeSantis' lawyer to define woke, and now the current legal definition of woke. That's actually fucking recorded in a court that woke is the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and there's a need to address them. Is that not a fucking insane thing to be against? And I bring that up because Elon Musk had a tweet where he said, the woke mind virus is getting too far or something, and there needs to be a counter to it. Okay, so what is the woke mind virus? Is it trans people? Is it queer people? Is it gay people? Is it the belief that there are systemic injustices? Because that seems a lot more, a lot more likely in the Elon Musk case, because, gee, I wonder why a billionaire would want to fight against people who think that there are injustices in society and some need to address them. Very interesting of a white supremacist billionaire to be against that kind of thing. It's all so tiring. And I do have to bring up, what do you think is the counter to believing that there are systemic injustices and a need to address them? Because I'm thinking that it's white supremacist fascism. That seems like a pretty good counter to that. I don't think we really need that, Elon. I think you need to fuck off in terms of service. I can't say the truth. Probably could on Twitter if it was directed at a trans person, though. Oh, I forgot to mention on the whole Daily Wire evil spiel, not the Pokemon spiel, it's a spiel. Hey, did you know in the time between the last podcast, episode 3, and this podcast, that Matt Walsh and libs of TikTok led hate campaigns against children's hospitals because they were providing gender-affirming care, of which were included puberty blockers, which are completely reversible, and every maybe less than a few thousand across the entire country, maybe less than 1,000 even, the most far-going surgeries would be double mastectomies on teenage trans people. I don't know, trans boys would be the teenage name for a trans man. And they like to use the misinformation of genital mutilation, which bottom surgery does not happen on anyone under 18 anywhere in America. And basically riled up incredible hate Nazi crowds against children's hospitals. And in the case of Boston's Children's Hospital, it has gotten many bomb threats against them since then. And yeah, if you're inciting bomb threats against a children's hospital, fucking get off my planet. You should be deplatformed from this earth. Go to Mars with Elon Musk. You are not a good person. You are not protecting kids. You are actively trying to get kids killed. And not even just trans kids, but also kids that are fucking dying of random diseases in a fucking children's hospital. And you're trying to fucking get them killed, you piece of shit. Who are you protecting? I may sound like a broken record, but come on, man. At this point, transphobia is just hurting everyone. Matt Walsh certainly isn't protecting kids from Catholic priests, that's for sure. A man who has said that it's just consensual sex between priest and boy. Probably just trying to protect the kids so that he can have them. Hey, did you know that in 2019 it was reported that over 900 members of the Republican Party across America had allegations of sexual misconduct against them? Isn't that interesting? I gotta stop Politics, fucking, I am so doom-pilled by fucking scrolling Twitter nonstop. Maybe I should just unfollow all news or fucking sources. My God, my brain is being actively torn to pieces by this shit. How do y'all deal with this shit? Like, honestly, I can't get off the politics. I have to bring up that, like, I could just ignore this, yeah, but it feels like if I ignore this, I'm just letting the people who want to kill me get away with it unchallenged. Like, as liberal as it is to bring up the word privilege, like, I no longer have cis privilege. I never had straight privilege to just ignore these masses that want me and the people I care about dead. It's so fucking bad. I saw someone say that if you're a trans person on the internet, you basically have to be an activist, and I'm not an activist, but I get what they're saying, that you have to pay attention when there are guns pointed at you from all around. It's not fun. I think it's something that a lot of straight people don't think about, a lot of straight cis people, because, like, you can bring this stuff up and then you'll get, like, some comment from a complete dumbass who's like, no one cares that you're gay, no one cares at all. Okay, in America, they're trying to get all gay people banned from society, with Marjorie Taylor Greene going as far as proposing an exposure bill that any public display of any queerness of any kind is punishable as a felony, and that no one under 25 can transition, as they slowly move the goalposts from no trans kids to no trans people, period. Not to mention, in the interest of protecting kids, this peer-reviewed study, of which I do not have a link to right now because I'm stupid, has shown that gender-affirming care reduces the suicidality of trans people by up to 97%. And by denying that to both kids and adults, you are basically saying that you want 97% of trans people to die. Who are you protecting? But luckily, I in Canada am mostly protected, but in that activist vein, I feel like we should always constantly be vigilant, because there are people gunning to take this away, as stupid and as criminalized as they are, and there are people like Danielle Smith who are fine with these people who want to kill me, and possibly you if you are one of my queer friendos who I hate. What was I saying? Sorry, I was just so distracted by how beautiful you are. Also my Dr. Drink. Yeah, so Epicurus class was cool, man. And I actually haven't made any friends in my semester. That's another contributing factor of why it sucked, because we did some group projects, and boy, oh boy, those were a fucking disaster through and through. And the first one, it like went where we had to make a game right away, and none of us knew how, and it ended up all being done by 2 out of the like 7 of us. And then I got to do like the final documentation, so like, hey, at least I did something. But it also, group people I did not exactly get along with. First time I tried to talk to someone in my class, it was like this group thing at the end of a class, like this class called Game Concepts, where it's just learning about the most basic shit. I hated it so much. It's like, why is a story in a game important? What is gameplay? Like, that kind of thing was fucking mind-numbingly stupid. And in the first class, we had to like all get into groups and meet new people and network, that kind of thing. And yeah, the first thing I encountered was some good old light homophobia of when I was talking to another person in the group. I turned back to what the main group was discussing, and they were talking about, hey, should we allow gay men to go to prison because wouldn't they enjoy being R-worded? And I got very mad, but I didn't like let myself like shout or anything. I was just like, whoa, can we not get fucked in the head? I don't know if you're aware, but gay men don't want to be R-worded by anyone. That kind of thing. And I did shut it down, but I have to think, like, or did they walk away from that learning something about gay people, or did they walk away from that like, wow, snowflake liberal, fucking loser, can't take a little pressure, can't take a little truth? And so yeah, after that I kind of like shut down, didn't really want to talk to anyone. My school does have a queer resource center, which I think about going to a lot, but I don't know. I'm too old for these kids. I don't want to go to some, like, maybe they're all going to be happy in that resource center, and me with my doomer political eye, I'll just bring them all down. Maybe I will next semester, I don't know. No, this is quite the doomer cast, isn't it? You know, let's do it. Let's dive deeper into the doomer and Depresso. So, for the last little week or so, since my last week of school of the semester ended, I've spent most of my time just sitting or lying in bed thinking about my life and how I can cope with continued existence. And one thing I've been thinking about a lot is on Twitter, again, because always fucking scrolling, I saw a lot of threads from I should stop playing with my little headphones here. I saw a lot of threads from 40 to 50 to 60-year-old men who were talking about oh, if I could live life differently, what would I do? And a common thread, I can't remember if I've talked about this before, but if I have, please forgive me, I feel like doing it again. A common thread in these threads, that they all mentioned that they wish they had spent their money on experiences rather than saving every penny they could, being as practical. They wish they did more things. And I can really understand that, because in the past, or I don't even remember, in April, God, it has been so long since I've done podcast. Wait, did I do when was the last part? August-ish? I don't think I even talked about this. In April, I went to a concert with my brother for my favorite band, Billy Talent, and Rise Against, another band I really like, was there. And that concert was one of the best nights I've ever had in my life. It was so fucking amazing. I got ultra super mega drunk on ridiculous $200 worth of fucking stadium alcohol. At one point, I went to get another drink, then I lost my brother, and I was oh, I could find my seat on my own. I ended up, our seats were center high to the stage, and I ended up low, far to the right of the stage in someone else's seat, and I was just looking at the stage from a fucking 10-degree angle, wait a minute, something's not right here. And I texted my brother I don't know where I am, can we meet somewhere? That kind of drunken fun escapades, and just listening to the music, having the time of my fucking life. Rise Against honestly sounded like a shitty garage band, but it the energy was just so fucking strong. They played all the songs that I love from the early 2010 Endgame, Appeal to Reason kind of albums, and just the fucking energy was so fucking good, and I will remember it for the rest of my life. And thinking about that in terms of spend your money on experiences, I need to do more shit like that, man. I've spent so much of my adult life just sitting in my room, not even playing video games, because honestly, video games can be a really good experience, but I've spent so much time just doing nothing. I try to make my content, to make an analogy, I try to make my content not have a lot of dead air, have a lot of talking, even if it's not funny, just something for you to listen to or think about at the very least. And I feel like I've been living a dead air life. There are just so many pockets of nothing. Yeah, it bothers me now, and maybe in the pursuit of ending Depresso, I just have to do more things, but I honestly, when I think about my life, I've done, I've accomplished most of what I've set out to generally. I don't really have grand ambitions anymore. I want to make people's lives a little better. I want to inspire some creative work, and I've done those, and hey, you could probably do more creative work, I've done those, and I can keep doing that, but it's not exactly a something that provides experiences for myself. It's not exactly something that uplifts me until I see that people's lives were improved by things that I've said or done. And I just have to think maybe I just need some new dreams, and having trouble coming up with any, really, because I've accomplished most of what I want to. I've got friends that I've loved. I've actually loved, romantically, I mean. I always wanted to do that as a kid, and I didn't accomplish that until I was an adult. Late adult, might I? I'm not that old. I'm entering or leaving my 20s not too long from now. But even then, the big 3-0 is not the end of my life. I can still experience things after I become a crinkle-cut chip. But what do I want to experience? Thinking about it, I watched a video by Jaden Animations called, like, Our Tour Went Wrong in All the Right Ways, and just, like, watching and listening about, like, the tour experience of these internet celebrities. It sounded so fucking fun. And I think if I were to have a dream now, it would be, like, go on a tour or a road trip with my friends and have a good time doing something like that. It's something I haven't really done before. The closest I can think of was overnight trips in school, which were fucking amazing experiences that I'm very glad I went and had. Give you a little story from one of those. In grade 9, I went to Muskoka Woods for the overnight trip. You probably don't know. I don't know why I'm saying that. Muskoka Woods is in northern Ontario. It's the woods. In the winter, it gets fucking cold. We went in October. It was like minus 30. I was fucking dying. And fun fact, when you're in a cabin, there's only so much hot water. And if you're trying to be nice to people and say, yeah, I'll shower last, guess what? Minus 30 ice water is fucking torture. But it was funny as hell because I was not the only one suffering that at the time, because there were 2 showers. Just me and this other kid, like, fucking screaming in agony about how cold it was. And we could hear the people in our cabin laughing at us. Very fun time. But the story from that is, one of my cabin leaders got their bed peed on by a kid in my grade. Isn't that cool? Yeah, there's pranks back and forth, because these guys were cousins, cabin leader and guy in my grade, and cabin leader, like, threw eggs at their cabin or something. So as revenge, his cousin came into our cabin while we were away doing, like, trip exercise fun time. And he straight up pissed in the cabin leader's bed. I'm thinking one of us had to be a mole, because I guess he, like, knew what his cousin's backpack was. Maybe, like, how did he know what bed to piss on? So he only pissed on that one bed. And then, like, of course, cabin leader, like, I think he reported it because a teacher came and questioned us. And, like, he, like, asked everyone in the cabin all at once, like, oh, do you know who did this? Do you know who did this? And the fucking idiot, when asked, he was like, oh, no, I don't know who did it. He's probably, I don't know. And then, like teacher snapped in. He's like, oh, he? What do you mean he? And he could have gotten out of it so easily, because it was a fucking all-boys school. Of course it's going to be a boy. I don't think some girls are going to come from another school. Fucking, we're in the middle of the woods. Some girl's going to come from a fucking all-girls school, come piss in some random guy's bed, leave and go home. I don't fucking think so. Of course it's a he. Trans were not as popular and outed back then as they can be today. Fucking idiot. He would have got away with it too. For that freaking fool wasn't so goddamn stupid, but he did get in trouble. I think he got... Actually, I don't know if he got suspended or anything. I know the peer apparently ran... I just farted. I'm going to start that again. The peer ran into the woods to, like, try to evade getting in trouble somehow. Like, he was just going to stay in the woods for the rest of high school. Fucking idiot. I guess you can't expect very good smarts from someone who would pee in their cousin's bed. I think the fact that I'm smiling the whole time recounting that kind of does prove to myself that, yeah, I need to experience more things they do. Fight the Depresso. And since this is a podcast, I would encourage you to experience more things as advised by old men on Twitter. It could hurt, though. You could be peed on. There are 2 people listening to this who are saying that wouldn't hurt. That would be a good time. Stop. Yeah, I talked about video games being experiences, and something I want to bring up this week. I should get back to weekly or bi-weekly podcasts, hopefully. My game recommendation is Signalis. Signalis is an indie survival horror game very inspired by the likes of Silent Hill, classic Resident Evil, Silent Hill 2, I should say specifically, that's the obvious comparison, and cyberpunk things like Ghost in the Shell, that kind of. It's a sci-fi survival horror game. And my God, it is so good that it is honestly life-changing for me. I go to school for game programming. I would like to make my own video games someday. And this game is like my dream game. I've always thought, like, why doesn't someone make something with the quality, subtle writing of Silent Hill 2, but with the actual fun gameplay of classic Resident Evil? And Signalis is that dream game. I'm, like, blown away, and also, in terms of the Depresso, Signalis makes me happy that I do not need to make things, because they're people that are extraordinarily talented, far more than I could ever be, and they're making the things that I wish would be made, making fucking dreams come true over here. And it makes me able to rest easy knowing that the world doesn't need me, because it has the people who made Signalis and others like them. So yeah, my recommendation is Signalis if you like Silent Hill, Resident Evil kind of thing. It is right up there with Resident Evil 1 and Silent Hill 2 as two among the best survival horror games ever made. It's fucking mind-blowing. It honestly is freeing that Signalis was made to me, and like, even in these podcasts and these Let's Plays, like, yeah, there are people who are far better than me at what I do, and it's nice to know that there's infinite entertainment in the world. No one's gonna die if I don't do this, basically. You can still be happy without me, and that is a very comforting thing. Like, it reminds me of, like, sort of the end of The Hobbit, the books. I've never seen I saw the first movie, I didn't really like it, so I didn't watch the other two. Like, the end of The Hobbit, where Bilbo's just, like, sitting, smoking a pancake, and with Gandalf, and Gandalf's like, "You are but a little hobbit. Nothing you will do ever matters, you fucking loser." And Bilbo is like, "Oh, thank God. Thank God the weight of the world is not on my shoulders and the whole universe isn't paying attention to me." That shit drove Elon Musk crazy. What the fuck is he doing? And thank God I don't have hundreds of millions of people pointing and laughing at me. And I can just fuck off and die and it won't matter. And that also means I can fuck on and live. And I don't have people pointing and laughing at me by the millions. The weight of the world is, when I was a kid, I always thought that, yeah, I'd love to be a superhero and save the world, but the weight of the world's not something I am A, fit to carry, B, something that I really want to carry. I wouldn't mind being a Samwise Gamgee, you know, being like the good guy who, like, the world doesn't rest on his shoulders, but he's willing to go the distance for his world. I love me some Sam after reading the books. Lord of the Rings, I'd recommend them if you like things that are boring. No, they're fine. I read through the Twin Towers actually really fast in like 2 days, but took a while to get through Fellowship and Return. And living this Hobbit-like life is very nice, with all my necessities and stuff. But still, depression, gender dysphoria, Steven Crowder. Can't afford all the food I want to eat. That kind of, I guess I maybe could. I have savings. I could buy more things with it. I've actually been spending stupidly on games a lot lately, but that's neither here nor there nor interesting. Where was I going with that Hobbit shit? Those little, you think hobbits take big shits, or do they just drop like little rabbit pellets on account of them being so small? They do eat like a metric fuck ton. Maybe they take little dark matter nibbler from Futurama shits, that kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's probably in the Silmarillion. It's like 700 million words long. Million words long. Probably has something about hobbit shits in there somewhere. Gollum, I don't want to think about his little, takes long stringy shits, then he like plays with them and eats them probably. The fuck else is he gonna do? Oh yeah, in podcast episode 3, I'm sorry, was that an ableist show? In podcast episode 3, I talked about how I wanted to start a Life is Strange playthrough, but I did not. Yeah, I want to save that for when I have a better computoire. So I'd want to play that with Maxie, see their reactions live, because that game is very cringe for people who've never seen it before. I want to have that fun. That's another reason I haven't made a lot of content recently, is because in the Depresso, I don't really want to do it alone. I've been thinking a lot how I wish I were making stuff with friends. So hey, if you want to be on the podcast, that'll probably motivate me to make these more frequently. But I'm not editing it like the MaxiCast again. I spent 5 freaking hours cutting out the spaces in between the Discord delay. Next time you get the freaking delay. One of my favorite podcasts, Castle Super Beast, leaves in Wooly breathing on his mic like he's dying of diabetes. And all the delays between them and their Discord call, him and Pat. So fuck you, you're getting delayed podcast next time. Eat my delayed ass. Oh my god, it's been so long since last podcast that the podcast started with the death of Big Grey Cat, and since then, I've never mentioned on the channel, my mom got a new kitten to help numb the pain and the loneliness of us and remaining fluffy alone. And my god, kitten is cute as hell. I named her Mimble after Mimble the elf from AVGN fame because I'm still AVGN obsessed, though I haven't watched him in a while because I got to the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas episode and it sucked, so I kind of just stalled out. And god, I'm not going to put up a picture of her. I don't want to dox my cat right now. Pay attention to Let's Plays and maybe you'll see her in the future. But she's still small when we got her. She was this little, like, fit in the palm of your hand size. And she was ultra afraid of, like, everyone. And I slowly coaxed her out to getting used to me because she cannot resist the call to violence. If you play with one of her toys, she'd sprint at it, snatch it out of your hand. So that's how I slowly built her up. And it was, speaking of experiences, having this kitten that was terrified of me, and then slowly building her up to the point where when we first got her, she'd sprint away if I came anywhere near her, to her jumping up and getting in my lap all on her own in the process of like 2 weeks was another amazing experience I will never forget. And I'm grateful to myself that I haven't put a knife through my stomach and dragged it as of yet, that I got to live to experience that. And you'd think that would be that knowing that life will probably have many more good things in the future would be enough to make me no longer brain hurty. But it doesn't. I don't know why. That is something that's also, I guess it's been adding to the depression that I have such a good life and like every reason to live, but for some reason I just don't fully have the will to. It is frustrating, nonsensical. But I guess such is life. Take another little pee break there. Took another little pee break. That means you get our movie recommendation break. What have I referenced? I think it's recommended. I did Sonic. Did I say RoboCop or Dread? I probably said both of those. Been like on an action movie kick. Maybe I should recommend something that isn't action oriented. There's this French movie called Amélie, Amelie. I hope I'm remembering that right. It's a movie that I watched in film class in grade 12. It's a romance movie made by French people. It has very good special effects of like into the mind of the very weird protagonist Amélie. And it's just a very charming love story about 2 complete losers coming together and falling in love very awkwardly, very strangely. And it is an uplifting story that if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a loser. You could probably use some uplifting. So I'd recommend watching Amélie. And subbed. We watch things in their original language on this channel. Awkward love. That's something I haven't had in a while now since COVID lockdown started like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I have not dated at all. And that's something that's been bothering me a bit as well, as I've been on like a hot streak for months on Bumble and Tinder of just like matching with people and being like, damn, how the fuck is this hot person swiping right on me? And then like conversations start and go good, and sometimes they don't start at all. Some people like ghost me or I don't respond to them at all because I just either forget and then like on Bumble it expires or something. And like, I don't know, I've become kind of a serial ghoster because I'll start talking to these attractive people that I definitely want to put my little oinker in. But thinking of it in that context, I just kind of don't, like, I don't want to try to impress someone to have sex with them, and I'm so bad at like text conversations that I can't establish a care about someone through them right away. So I'm just like talking very nicely to these attractive people who don't deserve to be ghosted, and then I'm ghosting them because I honestly just don't care about them, and I don't care about pursuing them. But I want to date and have romance, and these two conflicting opinions, the winning one is I don't feel like dating or caring. So I'm just kind of like lost in being single. And it kind of sucks, 'cause I'm 28 and like everyone around me, everyone in my life is in a happy, loving relationship. And I'm just sitting here basically fucking stupid. Getting mad about Twitter. I just farted. That wasn't a dramatic pause. I was pausing to fart so I could mute. I wonder why I'm single. Yeah, man, it's been a long few months for me. I've just been playing video games, going to school, having a bad time, having a good time with video games, though. Splatoon 3 is fucking, like, goddamn, there have been some good games this year. And I've never played a Splatoon before, but I've played like 100 hours of Splatoon 3. I love it so much. It is so goddamn fun. It's the most fun I've had with a multiplayer game since like when I was into Dead by Daylight, at least. And Splatoon is much better than Dead by Daylight. I always hated Dead by Daylight, especially when I loved it. And Splatoon is just good old pure wholesome fun. Nice short matches that are just action-packed the whole time. You're always doing something. Salmon Run, Salmondo Rundo is a like horde type mode, and it's the most fun horde mode I've played since like Gears of War 2 Horde, which was the last one I really got into. That was good. There have been a lot of shitty hordes I've played since then. Haven't played many good hordes. But as far as horde modes go, I love me a good horde mode, and Salmon Run is the best one in like a decade, possibly more. You should play. This is not an also recommendation. Just Splatoon good. It's been a big part of my semester. What else did I do? I watched what another thing that was significant was I watched, what's that movie called? With the woman and the dimensions, universes, parallel lives, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I watched that and it made me cry twice, and I loved it, and you should also watch that movie because goddamn. That is, if that came out this year, that's my movie of the year. And going back to good games, just in case I'm lazy and this is the last podcast of the year, my game of the year is Signalis. If you couldn't tell, then it's probably Splatoon 2, or Splatoon 3 rather, and then Sifu. I also got Bayonetta 3, which I was hyped to for years, and oh yeah, and before Bayonetta 3 came out, if you're not aware, the voice actress for Bayonetta like went on Twitter and was like, they didn't pay me enough, and I was actually, the first Live Hard Corner was going to be about that, but or maybe it was after the Pierre Puliev thing, but I was going to do a Live Hard Corner talking about it, but I was like holding off, like, I'm thinking this lady might be outed as like a TERF or something, because I've heard about her being like heavy Christian before, but it wasn't even the TERFness that got it, that like made me not do a video on that. It was how her first video series on Twitter was about how she was offered like $5,000 to do the whole game of Bayonetta, and then it came out that no, she didn't get offered $5,000. She got offered $20,000, which was pretty standard industry. And then later, after she said no to that, she got offered $5,000 to do a small cameo. So she lied. So I'm fucking glad I didn't do a video coming out in support of her call to boycott Bayonetta 3. And I actually bought the special edition of Bayonetta 3, which kind of sucks because Bayonetta 3 is a little bit of a mess. It's like half good game, half what the fuck, why did they unlearn things from Astral Chain, make game less good? But that's not that important. Just play some Splatoon, play some Signalis, play Sifu. I fucking love Sifu. That came out this year too. That was really goddamn fun. I don't remember what else came out this year. I tried to play Tunic. I didn't like it because I played like 50 hours of Elden Ring and got sick of the Dark Souls formula, and then Tunic was like Zelda Dark Souls, and I'm so fucking sick of indie games that have to be Dark Souls. It's not the be-all, end-all combat system. I'm so goddamn tired of bonfires and potion replenishment like that. It's just not fun to me anymore. I've played 700 Dark Soulses in my life. I guess I played Kirby and the Forgotten Land. That game is really fucking fun too. That's a good game. Nintendo pretty much killed it this year with Splitting and Kirby. I can't remember what else. That's my year in review. Just Game of the Year, Signalis. Fuck you. It's funny, talk about spending money on experiences. That was actually one of the reasons I decided to go to school, was so I would experience things. That's all I've experienced from it is mostly shit. But thinking about that philosophy class is, I've gone to college before when I was 20, went for a year of general arts, and I didn't finish it because it sucked also. It sucked about as much back then as it does now. But in a similar manner, just from small classes that I liked, I've actually learned things such as the Epicurus thing, others that I haven't mentioned yet and probably will in future podcasts. I've learned things that usually in terms of psychology and sociology are what interested me most. Also race relations kind of things. I've learned things that have served as pillars to my life. I only learned about emotional intelligence from that first college run, and that bettered my life 10,000% forever. And is stuff that I think about and use every day currently 8 years later. And I've got a bit of that from school so far, so that's nice in terms of not really the experience itself, but the lessons that I can carry forward. So even though it's shitty and I might drop out, I'm not sure yet, probably not this year at least, while I'm pursuing doctor, at the very least, I have learned things that I will carry forward. It's not all a loss. So maybe spending your money on experiences, it might not always be the best possible expenditure of your money. But who knows, it might carry benefits that you didn't think it would, and even despite failure, you can learn a lot. I don't know why I'm saying you, this is me talking about my life. I am learning a lot, or at least some things, despite failures, and these little things that I learn can be used to make successes forever. So that's nice. That helps the Depresso. I've actually never drank espresso. I don't really like coffee. A big shot of it sounds like shit. I'd rather do a shot of shit than a shot of that. AVGN squeezes a buffalo's ass into a little espresso cup. Yeah, I think that about fucks it for this podcast. I covered I have a list of things I want to talk about, and I did most of the important ones. Can save some for another time, because I should just get some content out already. Thank you for listening to this entire time. Hopefully I'll have some more Let's Plays coming out soon. I got one planned for Christmas. It's not a Christmas game, it's something else. I want to finish all the shit that I've started, especially even though in that Halloween game, Lone Survivor, I mentioned that's one of the best ever. Hey, and Signalis is coming out. Yeah, hey, Signalis came out. Kind of blew that one out of the water. So that's nice, but I got to go back and finish it nonetheless. Oh, also, I didn't mention when I played Signalis, I actually sat down at midnight and played it until 9 a.m. and finished the whole game in one sitting and had an amazing experience that I will remember for the rest of my life, because that game's fucking killer. It's like Resident Evil, when Resident Evil 2 remake came out in 2019, I was thinking that's the best horror game ever. That was my second favorite, one of my top 5 favorite games, whatever. I'd have to reorder them all in my brain sometime. Yeah, Signalis is better than the Resident Evil 2 remake. Signalis is my favorite horror game that I've ever played. And you know me, I love my horrors. That's how I fucking praise horrors. Play Signalis. If you don't love it, I'll eat my own ass. Yeah, we're done. The podcast is wrapping up. Stay tuned for more content. If you watch this, guess what? You've helped my Depresso. You've helped me. If you have ad block off, that is. probably mention that at the start of things, because if you have ad block on, it like takes away the watch hours from me. This evil fucking YouTube. And more watch hours equals more recommendations. Just by listening to this podcast, you have helped my content grow. You can do anything. And I will see you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.